Deep in the forest stood an abandoned hospital. The footsteps of the patients and the voices of the nurses had not been heard here for a long time. At night, when the moon shone with a pale light, faint reflections flicker in the windows of the hospital, but no one knew that it was not just a reflection of light, but something more mystical and sinister. One day, a young doctor named Emma decided to explore this abandoned hospital. She was fascinated by the stories of mystical phenomena and decided to spend the night there to find out how true they were. When she entered the hospital, she immediately felt cold despite the summer evening. The corridors were dark and flickered with the faint light of the lanterns. Emma moved deeper and deeper inside, hearing every step she took, as if the hospital were a living being watching her every move. In one of the corridors, Emma noticed a shadow flying past her. She flinched and peered into the darkness, but saw nothing. But something was wrong. She heard whispers and quiet screams that seemed to come from the walls. She tried to ignore it, convincing herself that her imagination had played out. When she found herself in the operating room, she noticed the lights flickering and shadows dancing on the walls. At that moment, she heard a voice whisper her name. Emma. The voice whispered. She felt her heart freeze. Turning around, she saw a shadow on the wall that resembled the outline of a person, but there was no one in sight. She tried to kick out her fear and leave, but the door slammed in her face as if someone invisible had locked her inside. Emma realized that she was not alone in this hospital. Something unknown and sinister was in the same room with her. She began to hear footsteps coming closer and closer. Then she heard a voice, some ancient and dark, whispering incomprehensible words. "Let me go," she cried out. But her voice was drowning in the darkness. But someone responded to her cry. A shadow appeared from the corner, taking the shape of a man. Emma saw a face covered with scars and contorted with pain. It was the spirit of a patient who had once been imprisoned in this hospital. "You have to help me," the spirit whispered. "Free me from this place." Emma realized that the spirit needed her help to find peace. She decided to help it explore the hospital's past and uncover the dark secrets lurking within its walls. While exploring the hospital, Emma uncovered horrifying secrets from the past. She discovered records of illegal experiments and patient abuse. The hospital conducted secret experiments that led to accidents and deaths. The heartache and suffering of the patients is captured within the walls of this abandoned place. As Emma discovered the horrors of the past, she began to see visions of past events. She felt the pain and terror of those subjected to medical experiments and heard their screams. In the silence of the night, the heartache of the patients filled her mind, and she felt that she now had a responsibility to uncover this dark truth. One day, immersed in her research, Emma found herself in the psychiatric ward of a hospital. Here, in the dark wards, she saw the soul of a patient who had been the victim of cruel experiments. His soul was imprisoned within the walls of the hospital, and he was suffering agonizingly. Emma decided to help this soul find peace. She began researching old archives and documents of the hospital to find evidence of what happened here. She was able to find documents proving illegal experiments, and she decided to publicly reveal this truth. Emma gathered evidence and told the world about the sinister events that took place in the abandoned hospital. Her investigation attracted public attention and eventually led to an investigation by the authorities. The revealed facts forced the city authorities to close the hospital permanently and launch an investigation into what had happened. After the truth was revealed and the sinister energy that had been trapped within the walls of the hospital for years was released, the souls of the patients found peace. Emma felt the unknown shadow hanging over the hospital go away, and it no longer seemed like a place of terror. So ended the terrible story of the hospital, in which light overcame darkness, and the souls who had been imprisoned there for years found peace. But the legend of the abandoned hospital remained forever in people's memory, reminding them that evil can be defeated by courage and truth. Over time, the hospital became a forgotten building, covered with lichen and shrouded in a mystical aura. People avoid the place, as if the earth itself repelled them from it. But one day, decades after those events, a girl named Lena decided to understand the legend of the abandoned hospital. Lena was a research university student with a passion for the paranormal. She decided to spend the night in an abandoned hospital, hoping to see something supernatural. The night was quiet and cold. The moon illuminated the dark hallways, and Lena walked around the hospital, feeling the wind mix with her excitement. As soon as Lena crossed the threshold of the hospital, she felt that she was not alone. The air was saturated with energy, as if nature itself was alive. She heard footsteps and distant voices. It was impossible to determine their origin, but they made her heart beat harder. Traveling through the hospital, Lena saw a ghost. It was the soul of one of the patients, a young man with a frightened look. He was the last to leave this world during the horror that was going on in the hospital. He was searching for something, his eyes staring off into the distance as if he was looking for a way out. "Help me," he whispered to Lena. "I can't leave without getting to the truth." Lena sensed his desperation and determination. She decided to help him find peace. Lena began an investigation that led her to the ancient archives and records of this hospital. She studied the fates of the patients, uncovering details of their lives and the horrors they endured. In doing so, she encountered the spirits of not only the patients, but also those involved in the experiments. With each new discovery, more and more fragments of a terrible story surfaced. Lena learned that the hospital was the site of dark rituals and experiments that violated the boundaries of humanity. Patients were not only subjected to cruel tests, but also used for mystical purposes. She gathered all her knowledge and evidence to reveal the truth to the world. With every word spoken at the public hearing, the darkness that had slumbered for years within the walls of the hospital began to dissipate. The souls of the patients who had risen from years of confinement began to fade, their shadows dissolving into thin air. As the truth was revealed, the hospital began to change. The first step toward healing was recognizing the horrific events that had taken place here. City officials decided to completely remodel the building, removing the old walls and creating a memorial to honor the victims of those dark times. Every brick of the new building became a symbol of rebirth and hope. Lena became part of this process. She became the curator of the memorial and worked to preserve the stories of the patients and allow their souls to find peace. With each new exhibit, with each name restored on the plaques, the hospital grew brighter. Over time, the dark legends of the abandoned hospital began to dissipate. It ceased to be a place of nightmares and became a symbol of survival and the strength of the human spirit. People came here to learn about the past, to remember, but now they left with hope for the future. So the abandoned hospital, where terrible events once took place, became a symbol of recovery and strength. Its walls, despite the dark secrets they hid, now carry a story of struggle and victory. The souls of patients trapped within the walls of the hospital for years have finally found peace thanks to those who dared to enter their world of darkness to bring them light. The hospital's story was a reminder that truth and courage can overcome the darkest shadows of the past. The story has been remembered by the people of the town as a lesson in how the human spirit can endure even in the most horrific circumstances and how the power of truth can bring healing and hope.